We have Debra, you're up next for the running for governor.
As long as I don't trip over it, I'll be okay. Thank you so very much. I said at 5 foot, no inches, I'm used to getting overlooked, so I thought that's what had happened. But thank you so very much, and thank you for being here today. You know, you can't believe everything you hear. I heard it was going to be 70 degrees and sunny today. So, you know, the motto of Arkansas is "We the People." And that's the reason I'm in the race, is because I want to make sure that we the people get heard. Too often, and I am in my 3rd term as a state representative, and the tenures are short and they go quickly. But I have learned enough in that period of time to know that state government can do better to serve the people of Arkansas. People deserve better and we can do better. And that's the reason I'm running to lead this state, to lead it forward for the future of Arkansas. Too often, I've seen people of influence, the special interest groups who have the money, who are able to get laws on the books that probably shouldn't be there. If you noticed when our governor started talking about budget cuts, who did he start talking about cutting the budget for? He started talking about kicking grandma out of the nursing home. He started talking about those groups that provide services to our people who have developmental disabilities. Those groups who are already on a tight budget. Those are the ones he talked about cutting the budget. I want to be governor so that in those tight times, we make sure we look out for those people who cannot look out for themselves. Another group, I imagine we have a lot of veterans in this group. If you're a veteran, if you'll just stand up real quick. I want to say thank you for your service. You know, veterans really should have more than just one day a year to be honored. And I thank you for what you did for us, because we have our freedoms because of you. And we need to fight to keep those freedoms. But you know, we had to shut down the veterans home because it was in such disarray. And I said, that's wrong. Again, the people we should be looking out for, we need to be looking out for. So I just thank you for this privilege. I'll just ditto what Bruce said. It's been my honor and privilege to serve in the House with Bruce. You do have a great representative from here. He will be a great congressman because he will stand on those principles. He will not be influenced by the special interest groups. He will be influenced by you, the people. I live in Benton County. Is Tom Cotton still here? I was not able to vote for him last time, but believe me, I was glad when he won. And this time, I will get to vote for him, and I'm looking forward to that. If you have not made up your mind about who you want to vote for governor, please contact me. I'm always glad to talk about the issues. I tell people I don't like politics, but I love people. I love working with policy to make it better for people. And that's what I want to do, and I will stand on the Republican principles of responsibility, of limited government, and I am a fiscal conservative as well as social. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Debra. But thank you for letting me come today to be back at Hot Springs Village. I kind of like it here. In fact, I've kind of been thinking about trying to find a home here, but I can't find a realtor that would help me buy a house. No credibility left on that, is there? Well, listen, I'm so excited about what's happening in this race. I often get asked 3 questions. 1, why are you running? 2, can you win? And 3, are you crazy? And I'll try to answer the first 2 questions. I'll let you figure out the 3rd one on your own. But someone asked you last week, why? You had a successful business and you were doing well. Your business was doing good. Why are you running for governor? And my response was, well, I looked up and there was a bunch of politicians in politics, and they were messing the whole place up. And I thought, And some of you know I'm not a politician. I'm not a professional politician. I'm not even a lawyer. And but I have friends who are politicians and lawyers, and they are good folks. So let me be clear. But I really think we need a businessman at the helm of state government, don't you? I mean, someone who's had to make a payroll, someone who had to keep the doors open, who had to make this horrible word, who had to make a profit. I know. I'm one of those radical capitalists, folks. You might as well know that right now. But evil capitalists, right? Think you need to make a profit. And I think it's important to have I think it's important not just to have a successful businessman. I think it's somebody who's been through the travail of starting a business. That's important. It's not success, I think, that prepares you. I think it's the agony of giving birth. And by the way, ladies, I know nothing about giving birth, so let me be clear. But I have given birth to a company, and I know it's nothing like what you go through, but I know what it's like. Our little company, we have a little food safety company. It's doing really well now. It took us 7 years to get our first regulatory approval. As you might guess, a food safety company is slightly regulated. We are regulated by the FDA, the USDA, the EPA, and every bureaucracy that has an acronym regulates us. And we went through our first 7 years just trying to get our first regulatory approval. And I want to tell you, if you've ever run a business, it's really hard to run a business with no revenue. And if you've ever tried it, I'm just going to tell you it's hard. And our little company's doing well now. We're on 4 continents, I think 20-something countries, and we're helping to make the world's food supply safer, which was part of our mission statement. But you know what I remember? I remember the weekend. Catherine and I had invested every single dime we have in that company. In fact, it's all still there. And I remember the weekend that we went home one Friday evening thinking the company had died and everything was gone. And in fact, we did that a lot of weekends. But I was teaching a Sunday school class at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Little Rock, and Congressman Griffin, by the way, was in my class, and I don't know where he went, but there he is. He's an incredibly spiritual man now because of that. And I think maybe it's the other way around, Tim. I think it's the other way around. But our Sunday school class had a kitty. You know what a kitty is? Where you take up money if you have someone has a death in their family and you're going to give them food or something. But this all has a purpose, by the way, in case you're wondering. Well, Catherine and I, the company was struggling so hard. And by the way, if you've ever owned a company, you're the last person to get paid. And I remember one weekend when Catherine and I had to borrow money from our Sunday school kitty to buy groceries. Now, some of you know what I'm talking about, don't you? That's the experience we need in the governor's mansion, folks. Somebody who knows what it's like to create jobs struggling under sometimes smothering, strangling regulations, which is what was killing us. Instead of being in Washington creating regulations that smother and kill jobs, which is, I think, your choice in this governor's race. I'm a businessman, as I mentioned to you, and I've been studying the economy of Arkansas, and just like some of you, I've come to the absolute resolute conviction that Arkansas can be, that it has the resources, that it has the capacities, it has the ability to be one of the most prosperous states in the nation. We've got that ability right here in Arkansas. And I don't know about you, but it frustrates me beyond description that we're not. Did you know in the last census that just got completed recently, we fell from number 47 to number 49 in the national ranking in average personal income? In the last 12 years, your income, the average Arkansas income has fallen, not adjusted for inflation. It is absolutely real money fallen by almost 9%. In 2011 alone, Oklahoma's economy grew at 3 times the rate of Arkansas's. Tennessee's economy grew at 10 times the rate of Arkansas's. And Texas, am I pointing the right way? And Texas' economy grew at 10 times the rate of Arkansas's. Folks, that's unnecessary, it's unforgivable, and it's inexcusable, and it's time we stop that and let Arkansas Arkansas was at the front of the line and the head of the class in things other than childhood obesity and teenage pregnancy. I'm tired of leading in those categories. I don't know about you, but I am. How do we do that? We've got to change the most anti-job, business-unfriendly tax code of any state in the region. We have the highest personal state income tax rate. We have the highest corporate tax rate. We have the highest capital gains tax rate of any state we touch. Guess why they're not doing business in Arkansas? And to add insult to injury, there's a study came out about 15 months ago that showed that Arkansas is the second most heavily regulated state in the nation when it comes to starting a new business or entering a new vocation. It's easier to enter a new business or a new vocation in California than it is in Arkansas. Now, yeah, but let me tell you, we can fix all that. But to do that, you're going to have leadership that is determined to fix it and understands the problem and understands the situation and knows what it means and knows that high taxes and low income are directly related. Second, and I'm going to hurry a little bit because I know some of you are shivering a tad. There's a lot of hot air right around here if you want to move close. Second, we've got to if we're going to let Arkansas prosper like it can and like it should, folks, we have got to improve education in Arkansas. You know this. Now, you have some of the finest schools in Arkansas right here near Hot Springs Village. Fountain Lake's one of the finest schools you can find anywhere in the state. But I want to tell you, 2 years ago, the State Department of Education admitted that we have over 500 failing schools in Arkansas. Some of you have heard Governor Beebe talk a couple of years ago about how Arkansas ranks 5th in the nation in education. Do you remember that? I got to tell you, when I heard that report, I got really worried about the other 45 states that are worse than we are. But if you get the same report and read the same report that he got that from, and you read down, I think, to page 12, it also says that Arkansas ranks 44th in the nation in producing high school graduates who are prepared for success in life when they graduate. My belief is that is a much more important measure of how well we're doing education than how much money we're spending per student in our state. We got to do better. What's my solution? I believe that we got to move public education back into a free market economy in Arkansas. Now, what does that mean? Folks, here's what that means. It means we restore to parents, that's the key word, we restore to parents the right to choose where their children go to school, what their children are taught, and then the money follows the student to the school of the parent's choice. That's what a free market economy is. And there are volumes of empirical evidence that prove that that gives you a superior quality education for your children. Third, finally, every time I say that word finally, I can't help but think about the fact that the Apostle Paul begins Philippians chapter 3 with the word finally, and then he writes 2 more chapters. Just every time I say it, it pops into my mind. I am not the Apostle Paul. You're not in danger. Some things are too obvious to be said. But finally, folks, if we recover the constitutional republic that our founders gave us, and you are aware that we're going to have to recover it, aren't you? If we recover the constitutional republic that our founders gave us, that recovery is going to begin in and come from the states. Because with all due respect to probably the finest congressional delegation Arkansas has ever sent to Washington, the fact is that Washington today is not going to willingly give us back anything it's taken. The states are going to have to take it back for you. And that means that the states are going to have to stand up and push back. And we're going to have to build a coalition, and we're already working on this, by the way. We're going to have to build a coalition of principled, like-minded, even courageous governors and state legislators, some like whom we have here today, who will agree that we will stand together and we will work together, and together we will push an encroaching, invasive, out of control federal government back into the constraints of the Constitution. And I got to tell you folks, I believe that we will become an irresistible political and legal force to push that government back out of your lives and out of your pocketbooks and off your backs and out of your faces. But the states are going to have to do it. That means you've got to have a governor who understands that, and have a governor who feels it in his gut and is committed to fighting the battle, because it'll be a battle every single day. My wife and I were having dinner with some friends a few weeks ago, and one of them looked at Catherine and said, "How do you feel about Curtis running for governor?" And she smiled. She's got this unique little smile. And she smiled and said, "Well, I'm not dreading the campaign nearly as much as I'm dreading him winning." Because she understands we have a battle to fight. And we do, folks. And let me just say this to you. If I don't get to fight that battle, I'm going to be really upset. So I'm counting on you. I'm counting on you to help me, to put me on the battle line, to put me on the battlefront, because that's where I want to be. That means I need your support. I need your prayers. I want to tell you folks, above all else, I need your prayers. And I need your financial support. I need your encouragement, some days more than others. And you can find out how to get involved at my website, which is just curtiscoleman.com. But let me close by saying this to you. A few months ago, I heard Judge Andrew Napolitano. Don't you like Andrew Napolitano? Oh, I do. I heard Judge Andrew Napolitano say something that really buried in my heart. And he said, "Seldom in history is one generation called upon to protect freedom in the hour of freedom's greatest need." He said then, "You are that generation, and now is that time." And he was right. Because I am convinced, folks, that the decisions we make, I'm talking about us in the room, that the decisions we make and the actions we take will determine the future of freedom for our country and for our children and for their children, no less than what our founders did 235 or 240 years ago. And I believe that the sacrifices called upon us, while I hope will be different in nature, will be no less in magnitude than the sacrifices they made to give us this country. So I ask you to help me stand there, to stand together. I want to thank you for letting me come. God bless you. And God bless America. God bless Arkansas. God bless all of you. Thank you so much.
Friend of the village that's been here with us many times before. About 8 years ago, I remember we worked very hard and tried to get him over the finish line, and we're going to see where we go this year again. Asa Hutchinson. Asa.
Thank you, Larry. Did everybody see me? It's great to be here at the village. I appreciate this opportunity. And let me tell you, we've had a busy day. We started out in Asheville, North Carolina, took a flight here. I just spoke up in Clinton and Van Buren County for their Reagan Roundup, came here, and they're going to wind up in Rising. So I want you to know that, because we're working very hard in this campaign. And no one's working harder than my wife Susan right here. I want to introduce her. In fact, you know, I think I'm going to swing this campaign by the strength of my words, but I made one speech. And after I made the speech, this lady came up to me and she says, "I represent the vote that you need in this race. I am an independent. I am a woman. I'm the vote that you need, and you just won my vote." And I thought, wow, what was it, ma'am, in my speech that persuaded you my direction? And she said, your speech, it had nothing to do with that. I met your wife. And so she truly is my best campaigner. She'll be a great First Lady of Arkansas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today to tell you that I'm running for governor of Arkansas because I'm passionate about job growth. I'm passionate about making a difference in this state and building a bright future for our children and our grandchildren. Susan and I have been blessed in life. We do have children and grandchildren that we're very proud of. I've been blessed in public service. I've served 2 presidents, Ronald Reagan as United States Attorney. I have served in the George W. Bush administration. I've been elected to the United States Congress. I've had some of the toughest jobs, but I believe being governor is a tough job, but every tough job gives us the greatest opportunity to make a difference. And whenever you look at not just my public service, but in my private sector life, I've started Bentonville's first FM radio station. I've engaged in the private sector. I know what it means to make a payroll. I'm blessed now to practice law with my son. And so God has blessed me in life, and what guides me is my faith, my conservative values, and the fundamental belief that we're here to make a difference. Now let me talk about this race a little bit more. Curtis Coleman is here, and Debra Hobbs, and good people in a Republican primary. What we have to be focused on is that we've got a tough race to keep the governor's office, or to get the governor's office in Republican hands next November. That's what we've got to be united to do. And I think there's a lot we can agree upon. We agree upon there's too much federal intrusion into our life every day. We can agree upon the need to build jobs in the state of Arkansas and a skilled workforce. We can agree that we need lower taxes and less regulation because that's the fundamental Republican viewpoint. I do believe that what's important is how we can win in November. And let me tell you, there is a great difference between myself and Mike Ross, who's running this race. First of all, there's been 4 public polls out there, and I'm leading against Mike Ross in every one of the polls, 5 to 8 points. It's a long campaign, but I like where we're starting out. Secondly, when you talk about the differences in the candidates, there are substantial differences. Let me talk about one. This last week, Mike Ross announced his tax proposal. Did y'all see that? He announced, let me see if I can get it right, that we need to do away with the sales tax on used parts for industry. It's repair parts for industry. It would cost about $40 million, and that is his proposal for tax relief for Arkansas. Now, my response to that is that leaves out the tourism industry in Arkansas that is so important. It leaves out the mom and pop stores that is driving the bulk of our economic growth in this state. And so I have a different approach. My belief is that we ought to give tax relief across the board so that individuals can make decisions rather than government saying what is best and setting the priorities. And so this will be a defining issue. His narrow tax cuts for special groups that really follows the Obama precedent. That's what Obama has done. He has said, let's give tax breaks to certain groups, and he has opposed across-the-board tax cuts. And in Arkansas, why is it important? You all know that there's a 7% individual state income tax rate in Arkansas. That is the highest in the region. It needs to be reduced. And so let's take it and apply it across the board so everybody can benefit, everybody can make decisions on their own future, and that's the best way to create jobs in Arkansas. Secondly, when it comes to Mike Ross, he voted for Obamacare, that version of it that came out of committee and advanced Obamacare to the floor of the House. While I was out in Arkansas saying it was bad for business, it was bad for individual liberty, it is the wrong direction for our country. And I believe that today. I mentioned that I started out in Asheville, North Carolina. What I was doing there, I was speaking to the NRA women. Now let me tell you, these are women from all over the United States that believe in the Second Amendment. And there is nothing like being in a group of women with guns. It is empowering. I spoke to them at 8 a.m. this morning. I've been charged up all day. And if our founding fathers saw the NRA fighting for the Second Amendment, they'd be happy, but when they see the women of the NRA fighting for the Second Amendment, they would be thrilled. And it is an important part of our constitutional heritage. And I bring that up because the NRA asked me to lead a national effort on school safety. And I did that, brought the experts together, and we shifted the debate to what is important in school safety and not President Obama's initiative in controlling the use of firearms in our society. That's what I believe. And there's differences between Mike Ross and myself on all of those points. So we've got a race ahead. I am passionate about job growth in this state. The governor of this state will market our state in terms of tourism, industry, jobs, development, agriculture. I want to bring my experience. I want to bring my passion for Arkansas. I want to bring my love for the Constitution. I want to bring my belief that Arkansas can do it better than they do in Washington, D.C. to Arkansas and the governor's office. I saw a gentleman down in South Arkansas at a fundraiser. He came up to me and he said, and he obviously had worked hard all day. He was in blue jeans, he had stubble on his face, he had worked hard, he was tired, and he looked at me, he says, Asa, I'm not staying long, but I want to tell you two things. There's two things I want you to work on as governor. And I said, what is that? And he said, first of all, create jobs in Arkansas, because in South Arkansas we need jobs, we need better jobs. And I said, I understand that. What's the second thing? He looked at me and he said, fight Obamacare. Those are the common sense words of an everyday Arkansan who understands liberty and freedom, hard work, and that the government answer is not the best answer. Ladies and gentlemen, we are struggling in our country. People are worried about the direction of our nation. A recent poll said that 74% of Americans believe our country is on the wrong track. Last week I was in London for a business trip, actually with the Constitutional Project, talked to some current members of Parliament in beautiful ceremony in the Westminster chamber. And it was during our government shutdown. And they looked at me and I thought that they, as a competing nation, would sort of think America's having its comeuppance, maybe it's about time. But no, you know what they were saying? We're pulling for America. We want America to succeed because we need America to lead on the world stage. Those are our friends, those are our allies, and it inspired me, even as a potential governor of Arkansas, to say we could do better as a nation. We need to pull together. I want to do my part. Thank you for doing your part. We need you in this race. Go to our website, get a bumper sticker. Please help us out. Thank you, and God bless you.